By joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efini. Great Malabite.
Good morning,
Action.
Ruben.
Action.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai without L. Now, we start with this day Nigeria's newspaper of record. We start from the masthead, above the masthead. Emefiele, DSS probes assault on judiciary, correctional service officials, secret security agency says incident unfortunate, declares respect for judiciary. NBA condemned DSS and Nigerian Correctional Services personnel brawl over suspended CBN governor. Falana urges Tinubu to sanction officers involved. Rearrest of Emefiele, contempt of court order. ACJHR lawyers declare. Well, that show of shame. It's good to hear that the DSS is not saying that they're going to probe that assault, but those officers were quoting orders from above. But the entire country will want to hear the outcome of that probe and actions taken against those officers, assuming they were acting on their own volition. But it's good to hear the DSS reassuring that they have respect for the judiciary, because clearly what happened on that day, a couple of days ago, was clearly a contempt for the judiciary and the judicial process. So we'll keep a watching brief to see how the DSS will come up with the outcome of that probe. Now, the lead story of this day, Subsidy, Labour, federal government meeting continues. Tinubu pleads for more time. Speaker to meet resident doctors orders today. NLC insists on August 2 protests, despite meeting with government negotiation team. Declares the poor already missing Buhari. False attempts to criminalize Emefiele's dual exchange rate policy. Oluvehije explains delay in rolling out interventions. Well, Labour continued their meeting yesterday and not satisfied with the progress made so far. That is, if we can call whatever has happened as progress. Labour has now stated clearly that it will go on protest on August 2nd. But the Speaker of the House of Representatives, who met with the President yesterday, taking the case of National Association of Resident Doctors who are on indefinite strike right now to the President, and the President pleading for time, saying, well, the President stressed that he is relatively new in office. Well, I hope the labor unions will hear that plea. But clearly, the pains Nigerians are facing are really not new again, because since the removal of fuel subsidy and, of course, the harmonization of the exchange rate, Nigerians have been bearing the pains and the pangs of those policies. And the government promise to roll out palliative is taking rather too long. Now, the Punch newspaper also reporting this story. Tinubu pleads for more time as NLC issues strike notice. Now, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, Tinubu pleads for more time as NLC TUC insists on strike. Rep Speaker briefs President on resident doctors' demand. Well, we just look at other stories. The Daily Trust newspaper, coup attempt. ECOWAS sends mission to Niger Republic. Resident protests as EU, France, AU condemn military takeover. It's long time coming. Diplomats move can affect Nigeria's security architecture. Experts are saying, yes. Well, the coup in Niger Republic, another setback for democracy in the West African sub-region. And the West African sub-region seems to be the hotbed of coup makers these days, despite the speech made by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he was elected as the chair of ECOWAS heads of states, warning that democracy has come to stay in the region. But these coup leaders in Niger Republic seem to have different ideas. Now, what can the rest of West Africa and indeed Africa do to halt this trend? But these guys have already established themselves. They've closed borders. What can West African leaders do? Apply sanctions, use force, options. Well, Niger is still a sovereign country. You don't invade a sovereign country. You must allow them to deal with their internal affairs. But perhaps sanctions here and there on those leaders may just make some sense. But engagement is also part of the mix. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has sent a delegation to Niger Republic. The president of Benin is there also to talk to coup leaders to see how they can pull back. But when people test power, even for one day, you can imagine whether they want to leave or not. Now, the Nation newspaper reporting El-Rufai and Wike Oyetola Alake Fagbemi makes ministers list. Edu Pate Adelabu Beta Edu also nominated. And Vanguard also has the story Wike Edu Oyetola El-Rufai Adelabu others on Tinubu's ministerial list. Well, they don't have a comprehensive list. Perhaps they have a peep. Both Vanguard and Nation newspaper have a peep into the list, but certainly not a leak because they just have few names there. Some are familiar names. We'll see whether these names indeed feature in the list, which must get to the Senate today to beat that deadline. Ruben, Rufai, and Ayo.
Okay, we don't seem to have more time. I understand we have been able to re-establish connection with Governor Agu Kefas. Thank you very much, Emmanuel Efeni.